What was the name of the program? It was just called Mozart?
In case you're not aware of it, and I can't imagine how you wouldn't be, Mountain Lake Public Television is a tremendous force here in the North Country, and I've had the pleasure of coming here on a few occasions, having been invited to sample the coffee, and every now and again the donuts, and to actually speak on the air and have my fat face being seen by the public so they maybe would call in and donate some money. I'm not sure if I've ever been responsible for that, but it's such a pleasure to be here and to have this great institution in the North Country. And we're going to take a little tour in case you don't know about that spot on your television dial and what it looks like from the inside out. And let's begin with another good friend, Marie-Ann Azar. How are you?
Hi. Very well, thank you. Welcome to Mountain Lake PBS. It's our pleasure to have you here. I am the person who generally gives the tours, usually to people who are about, yay high.
Smaller than you?
Smaller than myself. That gives me a sense of power. And I usually know more than the first graders, so that's why they give me that job. So what we thought we'd do is have an opportunity to get to look behind the scenes. A lot of people have never been in a television station at all, and I think ours is quite unique. Even if people haven't seen our programs, this might turn them on enough so that they want to start watching.
Public television itself is unique, and this place is more unique than any other that I've ever seen. So where are we right now? Where are we starting?
We're standing in the lobby of our building, which is it's fairly new by North Country standards, I think. Our building is about 10 years old, and we have a television on all the time, and it only works on one channel. We have above that the tiles that commemorate the people who gave money to help build this building. We had a capital campaign years ago. We used to be in the basement of Yoakum Hall at the university, and people may remember years ago if maybe their children were involved with Scholars for Dollars or things like that. Also in our lobby we have our wonderful receptionist Louise, who is originally from Canada, and she helps very much because so many of our viewers come from north of the border, and she can speak.
And if you think I'm going to sing Every Little Breeze Whispers, no.
So she speaks en français for our French-speaking viewers. We also have in our lobby, so people can see them right when they walk in, many of the awards that we've received. We have 2 cases filled with awards, and we just recently had a cleanup day, so I got to dust every one of them and read.
Did you personally touch them?
Personally touch them.
Allison's too, huh?
Yeah, Allison's too. We've received awards from all over the state, even things from PBS itself, PBS National. We've been recognized for some of the programs we've done on the Adirondacks and some of the what they call image spots that we've produced in the past, sort of touting who we are.
So do you do a lot of tours?
I do a lot of tours. We tour hundreds of children every year through this building. Just actually in the month of March I had 100 first graders from Peru Primary come through.
Wow.
So we do a lot of tours because we are public television, and it's very important that the public feel like they have access to us. And I try to accommodate lots of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, people from over at CV Tech. All sorts of people come through.
And every now and again, we have an open house, and we have hundreds and hundreds.
Yes.
I'll never forget, it wasn't this year, but last year, where we had a carpet of popcorn.
That's right, the carpet of popcorn.
And I left at the end of the day saying, oh my gosh, I should bring my dog up here, or a herd of goats or something. I don't know.
Something to eat it all up.
My.
We still have that popcorn machine.
Oh, you do?
A friend of mine and I, we sometimes threaten to just push it off a cliff. But other people in the staff wouldn't appreciate it. But we do like to have
that's
those.
such a great day every year. This year was a particularly good one. Last year was wonderful.
Last year it was Mr. McFeely who visited us from Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, and this year we had Pappy from Pappyland. We try to make it really a family day because there's not very much that a family can do together that's free. And we really try to emphasize.
Come to think of it, that is true.
Emphasize family fun and getting to see their public television station. We do it during our movie marathon, which is a huge event people look forward to every year. So we try to incorporate everything and just sort of spin it off into a great day for everybody.
That's great. So when people come in, they can look right in here in a control room and see what's happening.
That's right. This is studio control. We can take a look in here.
Sure.
We're getting ready for an event right now, actually. Our annual arts auction is coming up. We're doing it the 22nd through the 25th this year. And right now, Derek is working on some of the on-air information that people would see if they were tuning in to look at a piece of artwork. They need to see who did the piece, how much is it, etc. That information was entered in already, but we need to make sure that it fits in what they call the safety zone. So he's lining it up. It's a very deliberate kind of task that he's at right now. And so he's working on that for us, and we appreciate that very much. Usually in this room, people will come in. There's a voice booth that's off to the side that I think you're familiar with.
Yes,
You've come in
I've
to do
been
some
there.
voice work
Yep.
for us. And we also have all of the sort of fun and games equipment in here. We have a digital video effects piece of equipment that allows us to sort of spin video, kind of make the things look a little more interesting for our viewers. And the center board there is called the switcher, and that's where the director sits. And that allows them to literally switch between the images that are coming in, whether from cameras in the studio or from the character generator that Derek is using right now, or there's also video equipment in there so that we can show previously existing tape and sort of just incorporate them all into the programs that we make.
That's amazing. All right, what's next?
Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to master control, and that's where action is happening all the time, because that's where the programs that people are watching right now come from. So we'll go right over this way.
All right, I'll follow you.
I call this the window tour.
Walk and talk.
The window tour, yeah. We're going to look right in, unless there's too much reflection for you here, we can walk right in if you'd like. I just don't want to make Joe too nervous here.
I don't mind at all.
Master control, as you can tell from the name, is a very important room, and this is literally where the programming that people are watching right now on our station is coming from. There's a big color TV up above that tells people what's on right now, and then we have the smaller black and white screens that show what's coming off of our satellites. I'm sure when you drove in you saw all those satellite dishes, and we can pick up 6 signals at once. And we can tape some of those programs for future use, or we might be showing them live, or we may just ignore the signal altogether if it's not something we're particularly interested in using. And Joe, who is our board operator today, he puts in a 10-hour shift 4 days a week. And he comes in very early in the morning to sign us on, and he gets that cart that you see near him all ready with all the tapes he's going to use through the course of the day so that he's not running and fetching through the day, because we've got a big library of tapes back there and it would be a bit of a chore. We also have in this room the capability, the old patching network that you see there on the wall that looks kind of like something from
spaghetti.
Yeah.
That does look familiar from the old days in radio.
The old days. It is older equipment, but that's how we are able to do our descriptive video service, which is something that PBS came up with, and it's sort of a ongoing part of what PBS does to help all of our viewers, and this is for the person who is visually impaired. It allows them to hear a description of the action on the screen on programs like Masterpiece Theater, Nova. All of the big heavy hitters from PBS have this descriptive video service, and all a person has to do on their TV or VCR is switch over to second audio program, and they can pick that up. So it helps to make the program more meaningful. And I don't know if you know this, but PBS was the system which developed closed captioning, which we also offer to our viewers who are hearing impaired. So something to help out everybody. And that's master control. We can go in maybe and do sort of a walkthrough if you want.
Sure, I'd love to.
I don't want to trip up anybody, but
Nope.
come through. What's going on?
Hey,
Here's
how
a
are
little
you?
TV. This is Joe. You want to say a few words, Joe, about
Joe,
Mr.
how are
How you
you?
doing?
Pleased to meet you.
How's it going?
Not bad. You actually looked like you were busy when we looked in through the window. You weren't faking it, were you, Joe?
No. I take a lot of pride in keeping up with stuff, queuing tapes, things like that, so I don't fall behind.
4 10-hour days. I even know your shift.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but while I still have some dark hairs, I figured I might as well
At
do
least
it
you
while I
have
can do
some
it.
hair of some kind anyway. So what do you do in the course of a day?
Well, I come in depending on what shift I work. Normally, I work the AMs because I also work at WPTZ. So that kind of prohibits me from doing the PM shifts. I come in at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on what time sign-on is, and check meters, see if everything's running well because of the overnight shift, and just queue up tapes and make sure everything's set for the day. See these little logs right here? This is kind of like what we go through the entire day, and I just make sure every tape is on there.
You mean somebody had to get up before you did to type it up?
Well, no, Gary does them the day before. He ain't that crazy.
So how long have you been doing this?
Since January. Since January, right after I graduated from Plattsburgh State.
You did?
Yes, I did, sir.
Good for you. Where are you originally from?
Broad Albin? Probably doesn't ring a bell.
Yes,
I say
it
35
does.
minutes west of Albany, and people are like, oh, you're near Amsterdam.
So
So,
you think you're going to hang in here for a while or what?
well, my big dream is to be a sportscaster.
Phil Rizzuto.
So,
Young Phil Rizzuto,
yeah, no
right?
Marv Albert. So that's, I'm hoping to, at least keep in the field, and then, got to be the dishwasher before you're the cook, you know what I mean?
You got that right.
So,
You gotta crawl before you
That's
walk,
right.
and you know the old phrase, right? Hey, great to meet you, Joe. Best
Pleasure
of
to
luck
meet
in
you, sir. Thank
everything
you.
you do.
Thank you.
We'll see you. What team would you like to broadcast for?
Mets games.
Oh.
Big time. Big time. What are you, a Yankees fan?
There we go. I should have worn my Yankee hat. Well, we got to start winning before I start crowing again this
That's
year.
right.
Joe, have a great year.
You too.
See you
Go ahead.
later. Wonderful.
Just want to show you, this is some of the equipment that we're still using, the 1-inch machines that we use to do some of the editing of pieces that we get, like for instance for the movie Marathon, we get those on reels that we need to build space into for fundraising breaks. And so we have some of this equipment that probably looks old if some people have visited places like Channel 5, but it still works, and if it ain't broke, don't throw it out the window. That's what we say here
You're
at
talking
Mountain
to
Lake.
somebody who spent all those years in radio, and my equipment was way older than that.
Yeah, we've got that tape library I was telling you about just to show you. These are all these are 3/4 inch tapes, a little bigger than what people see on their VCRs at home. But we have our own productions in here, and also things that we have the rights to use for a few years, so we keep them on a format that we can use for broadcast, and we've got them going all the way back there. So it's
Oh
huge,
my goodness.
huge collection. Have you ever been back here before?
Oh, maybe I have. I can't remember though.
And I'm bringing you in where we've seen some of our old equipment. This is our newest equipment right here. Get this out so we don't have an ad going on here. This is one of the editing suites, and this is what we call the Fast, and that's just the name of the product. And this is a non-linear piece of editing equipment. It literally allows the person putting the program together to take what they've taped out in the field and dump it onto a hard drive, and they can separate out the sound from the video and pick up chunks, just like a person writing a letter on their PC can pick up a paragraph and move it wherever they want, or a sentence or a word. So it really allows a lot of freedom in editing.
It's marvelous. And I marvel at people who have that capability. It
They've-
takes a while to learn it.
That's just it. They learn on the job here because a lot of our folks did get degrees, just like Joe, from the communications program at Plattsburgh State, but they may have graduated 10, 15 years ago, and the equipment came out after that graduation date, so they get the equipment in. We might have somebody from the business that created this come up and do a quick training, but you know, as I do, that sometimes it just takes sitting down and fooling around with it before you figure it out. I'm just going to cut through this other area. This is another editing suite or two. Don't trip over our wonderful truck.
I'll be careful, I promise
And
you.
this is some older editing equipment, but we're still using it. And what we're going to do is cut through here, cut through studio control, take a quick wing through the studio, and then out to Howard's office.
Okay, let us do that.
This is Derek Wren. He
Derek,
is
how are you?
also a board operator, and he also works in our operations, which means that he does some production stuff as well, very important to the station. And how many years have you been here, Derek?
Let me get over here. Derek, how are you? Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you too,
How
Gordon.
long?
About 10 years or so. I've been,
Oh,
been back here.
wow. You started when you were 8 or 9.
Little older.
So what made you choose public television? Just happened to be the right place at the right time, or?
No, I actually started originally here right when I was in high school at PHS
Kidding.
through a little work grant, and it has slowly over the years developed into
A
something
real
I
career, huh?
really enjoy. And
That's great. Do you live around here?
yeah, I live in Peru.
Born and brought up in the North Country?
Oh yeah,
Graduated from PHS.
right.
What year would that be?
84.
Wow.
Derek,
Is it?
they're the same age.
Oh, really? Ah, that's amazing. So what do you do in the course of a day now?
Anything from run master control, which is put the programming on the air and record stuff from satellite, to a little bit of production work, some editing, minor editing jobs, some graphics. I help put together mailbag and date book on a weekly basis. to keep the viewers informed of what's going on in the area and what's going on here in the building. Do dubs from tapes that come from other stations, and we basically have a lot of shows come in that way. We have to put them on our own tape stock and then ship them off to the next station, and it keeps you busy.
That's good. What a great career. We're glad you stuck around.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you. Have a great day, Derek. Okay, what's next?
We're going to past the soundboard that looks just like what you're familiar with, the radio board.
yes.
And here we are in our beautiful studio, getting ready for the auction that's
Boy, does
coming
this
up.
look different from the last time I was in
Yeah,
here.
it's kind of a chameleon room. I mean, it really, it's just a big empty space, and we fill it up as we need. And right now we've got Paul and Paul working on sort of blocking out the shots for how the artwork is going to look. We've set up some pieces on the easels over there. They've already lit the studio. Light is really important for television, and they want to make sure that they've set the lights in a way that really shows the artwork to the best advantage. We'll have an auctioneer standing at the podium. His name is Ralph Passano. He's been coming up every year now for many, many years from the Albany area. And he is a professional auctioneer, and he really knows how to sell the artwork. We'll have John Flanzer, our program manager, act as host, and he gets all gussied up in a tuxedo, and he sits right here, and he does what they call the crossovers during the event. He talks about what's going on, explains how to buy the artwork, where to pick up the artwork, all the sort of nuts and bolts. And we have bistro tables set up because we have people come in to sit in the audience from the community, people who want to bid on the art live to make it sort of an exciting event. And then we have phone banks, just like we do for the fundraisers, and those are so people can take bids over the phone. People watching at home will be calling in all these 4 nights trying to make the highest bid to buy the artwork that they want.
Is this a major function of what you do every year? Is this a real big deal?
It is a really big deal. It is one event that really pulls together, I think, our educational mission as well as our fundraising mission here at the station, because it really celebrates the artwork of the region. We get artwork from Vermont, New York, and Canada. It allows us to educate the public about the different types of art, oil painting, sculpture. Every year we get pieces that are very different from what we got the year before, so it's an opportunity for people to learn about artwork. And it's a great opportunity for the artists, because they get, I mean, how many people get to get their work shown on television? It's huge. So it's a great event. This is our, goodness, I think 13th year.
My next question.
So many years that we've been doing the arts auction here at Mountain Lake PBS. We changed the name to Mountain Lake Collection a couple of years ago because we've really tried to widen the scope to include some collectibles. Some people have given us pieces that, for instance, a couple of years ago we had a chair and table from one of the great camps in the region, which went very well. Yeah. So we're sort of trying to widen the scope and keep it different and dynamic.
Marie-Ann, while we're standing here, tell me about your history here with this television station and how you got started here.
I actually started out as a volunteer with the Getaway auction that we used to do years ago. You might remember that auction.
Goodness, yes.
It was a travel auction that was unique to our station, and I'm from Plattsburgh originally, had been over at school in Vermont, and wanted to come home, and thought, well, gee, the public television station might be a good place to start. I had put applications out at several other venues in town, and very fortunately, this was the place that hired me, and I've been here for almost 9 years.
You've made some amazing contributions. Thank you for doing that. It's great to have people who stick around for a while, and it's not that easy.
Well,
in
it's a
other
great
television
place.
stations, it's very hard to keep people.
Well, the reason I think that so many of us are sort of lifers here is because our opportunities are so vast. People here have an opportunity to sort of try out at anything that they want to do. So even though I started out in the fundraising capacity for the station, I've since stretched into the educational services department, working with young children, working with teachers, librarians, families, family literacy organizations. Have had the opportunity to work with some health programming, giving me a chance to polish my on-air skills. So it's been wonderful. It's just, it's like going to school and being paid for it.
You have blossomed over the years. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Where do we go next?
We're going to go see Howard Lowe, our general manager. He's probably wondering where we are. We're going to go through the big door. I always tell the children now, look at how big this door is. It's 3 panels thick because it's soundproof, and everybody always says, oh, I wish I had one of those at home.
Let me stand outside and scream and see if it really is.
I do that. I always pretend to. I go inside and I say, can you hear what I just said? And they all say, no.
You were just moving your lips and trying to fool us.
Right. We're going to go by our boardroom. We have a board of trustees, of course, here at the station. We're not-for-profit. We're guided by folks from Vermont, New York, and Canada who come together for meetings to talk about what we do and how to do it better.
Boy, it's deja vu. As we walked by that room, I remembered a news conference one time with a former governor, Mr. Cuomo.
Yeah, he was here.
All the kids, we were there and
Right,
spent a great time. That was a few years ago.
Well, here we come to Howard Lowe's office, and if you mind if we come in?
Welcome.
He got his glasses down on his nose. How are you, Howard?
Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here today. This is it, huh? This is where it really happens?
Well, it really...
All that was just the icing? Is that what you're
well,
telling me?
this is really part of the icing, too, as a matter of fact. But, yeah, this is my office.
Tell us a little bit about what it's like to be in your position here and how long you've done it and where you came from, and give us a little précis here.
Well, Gordy, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun. But it's a lot of hard work. And I've been with Mountain Lake PBS for 2.5 years now. Wow. And I'm originally from Boston. But in between leaving Boston and coming here, I spent quite a number of years in California with the PBS station in Sacramento, and also down on Long Island with the PBS station there. And my last position was with public radio and television in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, I didn't know. That's where you came from when you came here?
Yeah, I was there for 8 years. It's a wonderful place to live, great family city.
Yeah.
But when we left there, we decided we wanted to get back to the Northeast and possibly New England. And although we didn't quite get to New England, I can see it every morning when I wake up. So we're very happy to be in the North Country.
It's a good place to live. Do you own your own home here now, Howard? Or?
Yes, we have a house on Cumberland Head.
Oh, yeah, good spot. You can, like you say, when you get up, you can see it. We're just talking about Mario Cuomo, and I see his picture over here because we had a news conference with young kids here a few years ago, and it was one of the most stimulating things I've ever done in a small room in my life, with all these kids around, and they gave it to him, and he gave it right back to them, and his aides kept saying, Governor, we have to leave. And he would look at them as if to say, I am the governor. We will leave when I'm finished talking with these kids. And I learned a great deal about Mario Cuomo in that room that day.
Well, that's a shot of the former governor when he came to WLIW on Long Island, where I was the assistant general manager at the time. And Cal may have panned over some other photographs that show me in the company of some local Republican leaders. So we are happy to have friends on both sides of the aisle.
That's great. So you got an old-time radio on the top shelf there, or a facsimile thereof?
Yes, it is a facsimile, right.
That's great. You got some very nice Boston Newsboys Union, 1913. Is there a story behind that?
Well, just the fact that I'm originally from Boston, and that's the ball committee, which I take to be the big dance committee, it could be baseball committee. I don't know, but it's a great old photo, and
How the heck did you ever come by a picture like that? Did you?
I think I just picked it up in a secondhand shop of some kind.
Oh, look over here.
But most of the things on the walls in here are from some of the other PBS stations that I've worked at. You see the art auction posters from the Sacramento station.
Oh, yeah.
A program we did, a documentary about the history of Omaha as told by the old buildings in town, and it was a very successful program, and frankly the kind of program I'd like to see us do about Plattsburgh and other communities around the North Country, because I think people can learn so much about their local history by being more aware of buildings that are still here and why they were built, what they represented, and their value in the community today. And that's part of the role of Mountain Lake PBS, is going back to the historical roots of that surround our viewers and helping explain and inform people about them.
Calvin and I love to do that as well, and we've talked to so many interesting figures who know the history of the people of the North Country, young people and old people who have lived the history of the North Country, and to go into these ancient buildings and to see if the walls can talk.
Exactly.
There's no better quest. I would suggest you go for that.
Well, we hope to do that. I've begun talking with some local historians and architects about advising us on what buildings to focus on, and also advising us about where to find some funding to pay for a documentary.
That's
like
always
that.
when it comes to PBS, they always have to be searching for funding sources.
Well, we do, but I'm happy to tell you that here at Mountain Lake PBS, we get over 50% of our revenue from the community, whether it's from individuals like you and me or from local businesses. And we're trying to decrease the amount of reliance we have on the government. And we want to be supported by the people we serve. And that's what we try to do with our fund drives.
And it's amazing how people do respond. You know, I think it's time to take a moment to talk about public television in general and how it survives. Many of our listeners who may not be educated toward what public television is all about will be, and hopefully we'll get them to turn that channel before we're through. Explain the process.
Well, public television has been around for over 40 years. Mountain Lake PBS has been on the air for about 22 years. And public television was originally created as educational television, but over the years our program services have expanded. And now we find ourselves in a situation where many of our most popular programs are being copied by the expanding cable networks. And they play a very useful role, the History Channel, the Discovery Channel, and things of that sort. But PBS, I believe, continues to have the very best programming for families. It's a channel that you can tune to and be assured that you won't see violent programs. And if there's a violent episode, which is rare, we always tell people in advance that they may not want to stay tuned. But it's very unusual. And we continue to have a leadership position when it comes to educational programming. We have the best. And in fact, we have so many families relying on us for educational programming across the country that PBS has now launched a second service, which is a kids channel, and is now available on many cable systems around the country. But when we started public television many years ago, one of the things that wasn't well thought out was how were we going to pay for this service? And government financing, as with many nonprofits, has been somewhat unpredictable, up and down over the years. And so very early in the process, we started going to our viewers and asking them to help pay for this service that they use. Television on the honor system, if you will. No commercials. We won't break up the programs except a couple of times a year. But then we ask our viewers to give us a helping hand. And it's worked. Membership is on the rise. And it's obvious that we're providing a valuable service. And we say that we're serving citizens as opposed to consumers, because we're not trying to sell a product. We will recognize companies that help us fund the programs, but it's quite a bit different from airing commercials. So we're very proud of the support we get from the community.
This community supports a lot of things. What's happening actually tonight in real time with that art auction is a perfect example, isn't it?
Yes, and I imagine by the time this program is aired, we will know about the success of the art auction.
It better work.
I hope that some of your viewers have a new piece of artwork in their homes or offices thanks to the Mountain Lake Collection. But it's a terrific showcase for regional artists. We have works of art that come to us from artists in Quebec City, in Montreal, all over the North Country, and Vermont. And it's a real win-win situation. The artists get terrific recognition for their good work and help us raise money to pay for the programming that we provide all year round.
And there are other special events which are notable, not the least of which is that famous movie marathon every year. That's so much fun.
It is a lot of fun, and it's something that we've now combined with our open house, and you're our host during the open house. And I think Marianne was telling you earlier about the tremendous turnout we've had from the community to come in and meet a PBS celebrity and meet you and see what the inside of a television station is all about.
It's been so much fun every year to come here and just watch the little kids going from room to room and trying to pour in to see the celebrity and working his program or her program in shifts so that everybody gets a chance to see him. And it's really neat.
It is, and we hope to expand that next year. And it may mean holding that event outside the station because, as you know, this past year we had so many members of the public come in with their families that we were a bit overwhelmed. And thanks to Pappy, who was our host.
Isn't he great?
He was wonderful and put on an extra show for the kids that came late. And I think next year maybe we'll need a bigger spot.
He was an exceptional personality, and everybody loved him. We got a chance to see him in a little sneak preview the night before downtown and found him a fascinating guy. He's been all over the place, went to Vietnam and came back, and he now dedicated his life to this, and he's not a bad artist either.
He's wonderful, very creative and successful, and who knows, maybe he'll be back again.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your coverage area, which we haven't mentioned today. That's very important for people who run any kind of television station, but yours, you have a potential audience, which is kind of amazing.
We are fortunate to be carried on cable systems throughout the North Country. We're on Adelphia around the Tri-Lakes. Of course, we're on Falcon here in Plattsburgh. But the real jump in audience comes when we look north to Quebec because the Videotron cable system picks us up in Montreal and not only brings us into homes, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of homes in Montreal, but also carries our signal up to Quebec City and some other smaller communities. So all told, Mountain Lake PBS can be seen in between 1.5 million and 2 million homes. And that's quite a reach, as we say. So when we talk to viewers and ask them to become members, we have a large pool of viewers to draw from. And when we go to businesses, whether they're in Quebec or in the North Country, and ask for underwriting of our programs, we can offer them entree to many, many homes.
So you better make sure you have your tie on straight if you're on in front of the camera, because there are a lot of people that could be listening and watching. Let's talk about staff. You have amassed a wonderful staff. I'm sure you realized that when you came here, because a lot of these people predated you at Mountain Lake, and they're still here. And in talking with several of them so far in this program, you can see they're not here because they want to become millionaires in broadcasting. They're here because they believe that public broadcasting has a mission.
Exactly, Gordy. We feel that the services we provide make a difference in people's lives, whether it's a 3-year-old watching Sesame Street or a older person who's enjoying Nova or Mystery or what have you. We know that our programs make an impact. We have a terrific staff. Some of the folks have been here almost since the station started and have tenure approaching 20 years. Others started last week. But they all share a dedication. They're hard workers, they're creative, and I hope they enjoy what they're doing. The station is changing, it's growing, and we're getting ready for a transition to a new technology, which is digital television, and that will have its own set of challenges. But we have some of the most creative people on our staff that I've ever worked with, and that really sets us apart and helps us produce programming, for example, like People Near Here, which is now distributed internationally. And when I say that, I don't mean just Canada. That program has been picked up by a distributor that brings it into homes as far away as India. And
oh, wow, not bad.
We know that because we got a letter from a gentleman in India. But People Near Here has been a terrific program for us. It appeals to audiences from all cultures. And
explain to our viewers what it is in case they
Sure.
may not have been introduced.
Thank you. People Near Here is a program that visits what we call ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And
Like we're doing today. Howard.
they could be people who have interesting businesses or interesting hobbies or accomplishments that are little known. And our producer, Derek Mearden, and his videographer, Paul Frederick, have now produced, I believe, 40 of these programs, and we're on to a new season next year. So it's been very popular.
It's just amazing how many fascinating people and places there are in a rural area such as northern New York, huh?
Every program is different. Every program introduces you to a new personality, and they're educational as well. You'll find out how something is made or how something is created, and they really open your eyes to what people do and what people can do.
Howard, everybody has dreams, and I know you do too. You've been here 2.5 years. You're going to stay here forever. Or what's in the future for you and for this public television station?
Well, personally, I certainly have no plans to move on. We love this area very much, and I think that Mountain Lake PBS has tremendous potential. I mentioned digital television earlier. It is going to be a revolution in television broadcasting. It takes us a step to computer interfacing, so that we will have data services in addition to multi-channel broadcast services. What that means is that we will, instead of being channel 57, we will move to a new channel, which will be channel 38. We will move from an analog system to a digital system, and instead of having one channel, we will have 4 channels. So we will be able to focus each channel on a different service. We may have preschool education all day long on one channel, workforce education on another channel, how-to programs on a 3rd channel, and our normal everyday fare on a 4th channel. And that may be our program service during the day, and then in the evening we will collapse those 4 channels into one channel and use high-definition television. These are the big new screens with the CD quality audio that so many people are starting to buy in markets where digital television is
But
now
most
available.
people can't afford this early in the game because the receivers are, whoa, baby.
That's
but
right.
like everything else,
The prices come
they'll
down.
fall in line.
That's right. Originally, the high-definition television receivers were $8,000. I understand by this Christmas they'll be down to $3,000.
Yeah.
And the prices will continue to fall as demand goes up, as more services are available. So it's like all new technologies.
If you haven't seen it, it will blow you away.
We hope to have a high-definition television here in September and to do an open house and invite everyone to come in and see what all the fuss is about.
That's great. So you got a lot on your plate, as they say, don't you? A lot to think about and a lot to do.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
But you know, there is a great need for public television. And in this area, I think you're filling the need.
Well, we're trying. We know that many viewers have a choice of public television stations. Those who live to the west may be able to get the Watertown station. In the Plattsburgh area, you can pick up a station from Vermont. But we have an alternative service, and ours, of course, is locally focused. And that's really what sets us apart.
Well, who do you consider your strongest competition? The other PBS stations or the networks, or
Both. If you can,
Howard against the world?
well, I have a lot of help here on the staff. Couldn't do it without those folks. But if you can get it on your TV set, they are in one way or another competing for the same viewers that we are. So we need to make sure that our service is distinct and that it has a local flavor, because as the proliferation of other services continues with satellite channels and so on, we want to make sure that people see us as a valuable local service and something they can't get anywhere else. And with the health programming we do, the educational programming, People Near Here, and other services, we're carving out that niche.
You know, as many of our viewers know, I'm on a few foundations around this area, including the CVPH Medical Center Foundation. And its health series has been one of the most successful things that foundation has ever been connected to. The response to the programs, both on the air and during the course of a week after each one of them airs, has been nothing short of phenomenal. So you've proved yourself in another arena.
Well, we were delighted to work with CVPH on that series, and we'll hopefully bring it back before too long. We'd like to see the program be on more regularly, to have more field footage in it, but also include the interactivity with the viewers so that we can answer questions that people have. But that's an excellent example of the kind of local programming that you won't find anywhere else, whether you have 500 channels or just a few channels over the air. And it's that kind of programming that responds to the needs and interests of viewers in our service area that we want to increase.
I want to talk to you because you're a relative newcomer to the North Country. Had you ever visited this area before you came here?
Never. No, I'd never been here before.
So did you have any preconceived notions of what it was like?
Only that it was going to be a very lovely part of the country, and we were blown away at the opportunities here. The mountains, the lakes, the ability to enjoy small-town life, yet an hour away in any direction have world-class culture, entertainment, restaurants, arts, and restaurants. And I think
Restaurants and restaurants and restaurants.
one of my favorites.
But you know, these are the reason I asked that question is obvious. But I've spent almost all my waking moments promoting this area. Because I came here in 1961 believing I would be here for 6 months, launch into a wonderful radio career in some faraway metropolis, become world famous, but guess what? It grabbed me. And the roots started growing under my feet, and here I am all these years later and don't regret one moment of it.
Well, I think that it'll probably turn out the same way for my wife and me, because we really like the atmosphere here. And in fact, I was invited by the Chamber of Commerce to make similar comments about our reaction to this area when they produce the video that they will send out to people.
Of course.
So I was happy to do it because we feel very sincerely about what a wonderful place this is to live.
The place is unique, the people are unique, and it's a really nice package. So that when people like Howard come here and say, yes, that this quality of life is significant. We've been preaching that ourselves for years, but we're part of the indigenous population now, so I guess we aren't going to move. But when an outsider says that, then it means something to me, and I'm glad you joined us because it's people like you that perpetuate that theme.
Well, thank you. I hope we're doing our part to improve the quality of life for everyone. It's something that is close to everyone's heart here at Mountain Lake. We know that our services are valuable, and when we get feedback from our viewers, it really gives us the energy to continue.
Well, we can't wait to see what happens in the future. If all of your dreams come true, this is going to be a pretty neat place.
I can't wait to see it, too.
Howard, thanks for inviting us here today, and best of luck for you and your family and your future.
Thanks very much, Gordy and Cal. Great to have you here. Come back again.
And we've moved about 25 feet. Marianne, where are we going?
We are going to our accounting office. We have Joan Wilson, who is our bookkeeper and many other things for the station. She's really we call her the heart of Mountain Lake PBS.
The heart.
She is. She is. When she's giggling down the hall, we know things are okay here at Mountain Lake PBS, and she really is the heart of the station.
Well, let us step inside and meet her and find out what's going on in here. I know there's activity because I'm humming of computer. Are you? It all right here.
Welcome to Mountain Lake.
Well, we're delighted to be here. We're having so much fun like little children on the tour. We're taller than the average kid that comes through. But tell us what goes on in here.
Well, you know the old saying, show me the money. Well,
where does the buck stop, right?
everything comes through here, accounts payable, accounts receivable. I do payroll, all the deposits, underwriting reports. I can go on and on.
Well, we don't mind. You can go on until you run out of breath.
I do coffee.
Coffee's good. Coffee's always been good here.
Second to the mail room. So, you know, just a jack of all trades. I do just about everything.
Joni, tell us about how your history started here. How did you get involved with this place?
Well, I came from Hartford, Connecticut. I was working for Ryder Systems there, and I applied at the college for a bookkeeping position 15 years ago. And here I am, still here and loving the place.
Isn't it amazing? It kind of gets a part of your fabric, doesn't it?
It does. Public television is just a different kind of entity, It's just wonderful here.
And, it just feels comfortable sitting in that chair every morning.
Yeah, feels comfortable having a nice office and...
Not to mention the truly wonderful people that
yes.
work around here.
Great people.
They all radiate that sunshine.
Yeah. We try to smile all the time, keep everybody smiling.
I love it.
Oh, I'm on the morale booster committee, too.
Are you really? All right. Well, you did your bit for the day, Joni.
Okay.
Thanks so much for meeting us.
Well,
Good luck
thanks for coming.
to you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. We left Joan to her wiles, and where are we now?
We're in the production area of the building. I showed you the studio and the editing suites, but they do have offices because they make a lot of phone calls trying to set up shoots and different events. There's a map right here that I'd like Cal to get a look at. We are involving ourselves in a roadside recipe program. We had the first program airing in March, and we're putting a new program together, and we're picking out the sites across the Adirondack Park of where we'd like to be really showing people, our viewers, a true scope of what the Adirondack Park has to offer for wonderful food and inns and things of that sort.
This is my idea of a wonderful program.
Yeah, well, you heard that Howard liked restaurants
Yes, I did.
and restaurants, so do we. And in fact, we're in luck. The producer of the Roadside Recipes program, and he's also the producer of our People Near Here series, Derek Muirden, is in here, and he also produced The Voices of Scotland, which was a program that we had that was very well
and
received.
near and dear to my heart because that's part of my heritage.
Right.
The music was absolutely incredible, as were the sights and
Sitting
sounds.
right here, Derek, Gordy Little, and Cal Castine came
Derek,
down.
how are you, my friend? Haven't seen you since the movie marathon.
That's right. That was a couple of months ago, wasn't it?
Did
We had a good time.
Did we have fun that day
Yeah,
with
we sure
Pappy
did.
and everybody?
It's always a lot of fun. And arts auction is fun, too.
Yeah, it is. That's going on now.
Yep.
What's the deal with this food thing and this restaurant thing?
Well, everybody's so hungry. We've been working nonstop, We'll be here till sometime Sunday night.
Well, that sounds great. You got the map here and you got the little place.
That restaurant. Yeah, we're doing another Roadside Recipes, too. That's what I'm working on right now. We're going to do part 2 in the Adirondacks, the summer places in the Adirondacks. So I'm researching about 10 more places to take everybody to. It's a terrible job. Somebody's got to do
It's
it.
a tough life. That's what I say about
wanna
when
go?
Calvin drags me around here. Well, we didn't mean to interrupt your lunch. It smells awfully good. I'm sorry I didn't bring my portable fork here, but how about the love of your life, the People Near Here program? How long have you done it? How did that germinate and grow and blossom? And
Sure, Paul Frederick and I have been doing that now. He's the videographer. He's the other Calvin. We've been doing that for 3 years now.
oh, come on, is it 3?
Yeah, just 3. We've got 3 full, complete seasons out there. We're starting our 4th season. We have a brand new season starting in the fall of '99, which we'll call the 400 series. It started because we just thought that one of the most interesting things you can do on television is talk to people like you guys do, And
got it.
and it's just the human face. The television was built for the human face. It wasn't built for a panorama. It was built for a human face. And there's some great stories out here, and it's amazing how many really just interesting, ordinary people there are around here that have really great stories. So that's how it started. And Paul is an ace with his camera because, like you guys do, we try to do long, sustained takes, and that cuts down on the editing time. We have 18 projects between now and next May that we will produce and put on the air. So People Near Here is in that mix. We can't let the other projects go, so we have to do it very streamlined and hopefully, it's seen all over the world now.
I heard you got a letter from India.
We got a letter. I actually got email from India. What was interesting, we got a letter from Pakistan. I've gotten an email from as far away as Korea. The countries that are teaching English as a second language enjoy using the program as it's fed by Voice of America because it shows ordinary people in America not as they write, but as they speak. And we all know there's two different kinds of English, written English and spoken English. So they're using it as...
the various northern part of New York dialects.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother show, I think.
Did you, that's wonderful that you're seeing so far and wide because it's a quality program.
Thank you.
In watching the Ardo Monaco piece, I couldn't help but think that you were kind of blown away by this guy and what he's done in his lifetime.
Totally.
I don't know why I picked that one out. It just stands out in my mind.
It's a good one to talk about because it was our very first people near here. It was some 50 people near years ago. He was the perfect place to start. And it's just a great story that everybody knew about, but nobody really knew what happened to the land of make-believe after it got washed out for the 12th time, I think it was. And Ardo and I have become fast friends. He's like an uncle to me, and like he is to everybody else. I love the guy.
Is there a more creative person on the face of the earth? Some of that stuff just is truly amazing.
He is amazing, and his life, starting in the Adirondacks and going to Hollywood. You know, it was Louis Milestone, the director, who had a summer house up not far from Upper J, who got Ardo Monaco not only to art school in New York City, but got him to go to Hollywood. And Ardo Monaco lived with Louis Milestone and would come down the stairs for dinner, and there would be a guy with 2 potatoes on 2 forks playing around, a guy named Charlie Chaplin. He met all these people. And then he comes back here and brings all that energy back to the Adirondacks and builds the first theme park before Disneyland.
Then you suffer through all that pathos of what Mother Nature did to him over and over again, and he jump up and dust himself off and
12 times.
Do it 12 times.
It all went down the river 12 times. Yeah.
That's truly amazing.
Isn't it?
How many adults, almost your age, remember it from way back in the beginning, making trips here from this area or from outside the area to visit that place?
Exactly. And you know, Rand McNally still has the land of make-believe on their maps.
Do they really?
Yes. To this day, you can buy a Rand McNally road map. I won't terrify Calvin by opening this right now, but in this map in New York State, you'll see land of make-believe. So people still come by, and people still call. And they call Ardo, and if he's busy, if he's not busy rather, and they come by, he'll talk to them.
Every one of us is a collection of all the things we've ever done and who knows what else in the world. Yep. And in your case and in his case, for example, when you open his mouth, look at this. Oh yeah, what else do you need?
I love it.
What else do you need?
I love it. There's the
there it is.
When I go, that's going with me.
Good thing you got cue cards, or you never would have thought to go down. I couldn't understand where you were going or what the heck you were doing.
I'm proud of that.
But what I started to say about him is, I mean, you've known about him long before you went up there, and so have I. But until his mouth opens and he starts pouring forth with all the places he's been and the people he's met and the things he's done, and then you start counting in your mind the number of things he's invented and created.
Yes.
And it's mind-boggling.
Yes. There isn't a toy, I'm sure, of all the toys that I played with as a kid, and probably you as a kid, because we're fairly close, the prototype, there's a very good chance that the prototype of that toy, going far back as you and I go, was probably built by Ardo Monaco.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah, just that alone. Forget the land of make-believe. He says that he has done the prototypes for around 2,000 separate toys from around the world. So if you're playing Tiddlywinks or something, thank Ardo.
Oh, that's great. So what's your next big project?
We're doing arts auction, and then 13 more people near here's, and then roadside recipe 2, and then vacation.
For the next 12 or 13 years?
A week. No. I'm going to take 5 days in August.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, my friend. You're an amazing personality, and you have added to the mix of Mountain Lake Public Television, have created something very special.
Well, that's very kind of you. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Okay. See you, Calvin. Thanks.
No, you're taking a picture of Dilbert back there? Come on. Where have you taken us, Maria?
This is our traffic area, and Gary Skinkle is the sole person in this department, basically. It's part of programming, and Gary puts together the log that you might remember that Joe, our board op today, showed you. It was the schedule of everything that needs to go on our air, literally second by second, and Gary puts those together usually the day before, but I've known him when he's decided to take a vacation a few times in his many years here. We let him out of the building, and he needs to do a lot of that work ahead of time, and it's very exacting work, and Gary's just the right person to do it, and there he is.
Well, let's talk with Gary just to say hello for a minute. How are you, sir?
Fine.
Pleasure to be here with you. How does one get involved in making logs? Now, having been in the radio business for 36 years,
Similar
I
to
know
the playlist
all
in
about
radio.
logs and everything else. How did you... Well, this couldn't have been your life's dream.
No, it really wasn't, Gordy, but it all started out back in 1979 when Mountain Lake was known as WCFE Channel 57 over in Yoakum Hall at the college
Oh,
campus.
how well we remember.
And I participated in a program back then. You may remember it was the CETA program, which has now evolved into another
Oh,
incarnation.
yeah.
And I got a job as a master control operator. You visited, I think, Joe earlier.
Yep.
And after several years of that, an opening became available in the programming department. And for whatever reason, I was convinced that I should apply for the position, and came down to me and one other finalist. And I was a little leery because at that point in time, all my predecessors had had bachelor's degrees at least. And I didn't have one at that point in my life, but I did get the job. And the rest was history. At that point, I was the schedule coordinator. Now I'm the traffic coordinator here at the station. And as Marie Ann explained, I'm responsible not only for the logs, which tells the master control operators which machines to run and which buttons to push in order to feed our signal up to our transmitter in Lion Mountain. I also have to prepare a record schedule on a daily basis, 365 days a year, to let them know what programs are coming down the satellite feeds, and there are various satellite feeds at any given time that we're going to record and use at a later time. We have a lot of variety of programming sources here at Mountain Lake PBS. Some of our programs air directly from the satellite feed that we get and then immediately in real time retransmit by microwave up to Lion Mountain. That goes out on the air, but that's only a small portion of our schedule. We also have to record a lot of programs on videotape because they're going to be scheduled and aired by us at a later date, which then involves a massive tape library. I don't know if you fellas have been
Yes,
through
we
here
saw
yet.
it. We waded through that.
Okay, well,
Rows and
I
rows
wade
and
through
rows
that
and rows.
every single day because that's my responsibility of managing that tape library. That tape library contains a lot of programs that we have aired in the past, but we will be airing again in the future. It includes programs that we've recently recorded from satellite feeds, which we will be airing in the near future. And it includes a lot of things like promo reels. Even though we're a non-commercial public television station, we do air things in between the actual programs. That's another one of my responsibilities. For instance, this Sunday we're going to be airing the second of 2 episodes of a British soap opera called EastEnders at 1:30 in the afternoon. Well, that program is 27 minutes and 51 seconds long. Our next scheduled program will begin at 2 o'clock, so we have to fill the time in between the end of EastEnders and the beginning of the Sunday afternoon movie. So I have to make decisions based upon time considerations, based upon aesthetics, based upon marketing and things of that nature, to decide which interstitial material, which break elements that we are going to put on our air in between programs to try to keep the viewers on our station so they don't flip the channels and go somewhere else. So that's a big part of my job also. In addition to that, I'm one of the hosts. We have a rotating schedule of hosts for our weekly feedback program, Mailbag. And
It's kind of fun. That gets really interesting
it
sometimes.
can sometimes when you get, because what we do is we don't try to varnish over everything. We take the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you have to do that. If you're going to solicit viewer input, you've got to take everything that comes in. So it can get kind of interesting sometime when you're responding to perhaps a viewer that had a complaint or is very upset. In some cases, it's something that we didn't do. They may have seen another station, but for whatever reason, they are mistaken at that time. They could swear up and down that they were watching Mountain Lake PBS when this particular thing happened, and we'll research it. We'll research it into the ground to try to discover what the problem is, and every once in a while we'll discover, gee, it wasn't us, it was another television station in the area. So to try to explain that on the air can be very difficult, too, because people don't like to be told that maybe they made a mistake. So that's another part of my job here. I also I'm the primary male announce voice for the station. You'll hear my voice quite a bit during the, we call them VOCAs, they're called voice-over credit announces, which will run during the credits of programs, telling you to stay tuned for the next program or promoting another program in the schedule. The station IDs, you're watching Mountain Lake PBS, that's usually me.
I always wondered if you were a frustrated radio announcer.
You know, I've never really done radio. John Shear, I'm sure you know John very well.
Such a dear friend.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and John's always trying to get me to go over and help him out on wiry on the weekend mornings once in a while when he's working. I just haven't. I'm a busy guy. In addition to this, I have a business I operate from home, and my wife's a full-time graduate student. Fortunately, the kids are grown up and gone. But I haven't gotten around to radio. But I've always been intrigued by radio. I collect old radio programs. I have a pretty substantial collection of old classic radio programs. It's always been a big part of my life. Always enjoyed radio. But it was just fate that got me involved, as I said, back in '79 in television. And I've been here off and on ever since. And it's just a great place to be. And I know earlier you were talking with Derek Muirden, who, along with Paul Frederick, does People Near Here, which is the jewel in our crown, and it's something we're all very, very proud of here at Mountain Lake, our program now being seen all over the world. So you get a deep sense of satisfaction being involved with a corporate entity that is able to put out a product like that, especially in the Plattsburgh, upstate northern New York region. To be able to have something of that caliber that you can call your own makes you feel really good being a part of that. So that's pretty much it. We keep plugging away here at Mountain Lake. You'll be seeing me on the air again next time. We have to ask folks to send in a contribution. And I know we'll be seeing you again when we do that during our movie marathon, I hope. And we'll
always
just keep
a pleasure
away.
to come over here.
Well, we really appreciate when you do. We're glad you fellas were able to come over today and give us a little exposure and show the folks out there in the North Country a little bit of what goes on. Of course, it's arts auction time here at Mountain Lake, and there'll be a lot of activity going around this starting tonight and going up through Sunday, so you should be able to see a lot of interesting
Busy guy,
things.
right at the hub of this operation.
Yeah, this is
they
pretty
always
much the
used
nerve center.
they always used to call me Gordy Little Who's He, and
That's
I just
right.
saw the back of this little triangle.
Well, that's an interesting story there, Gordy. About a
It's
year
always a story for Gary.
About a year ago. Matter of fact, I think yesterday was National Secretary's Day,
Yes,
maybe?
it was. I heard about it all day long.
Well, around last year sometime, that point was brought up at a full staff meeting. And just as a joke, and I didn't recall saying it, I said, well, what is all this? We have Boss's Day, we have Secretary's Day. I said, when's it going to be my day? Well, they decided that April Fool's Day was going to be my day.
It seems to fit, doesn't it, Gary?
Well, it does. It does. And it was very nice. It was a lot of fun. It was a good morale booster. On April 1st, the staff gathered in the studio for a full staff meeting, and at the conclusion, the Morale Boosters group announced that it was being proclaimed as Gary Skinkle Day, and they proceeded to put on a tape of a parody song that they'd thrown together and marched around, not the table, but around the studio, singing the song, holding picket signs. I've gotten rid of most of the accoutrements. There were picket signs and all kinds of things, and one of the things was they each gave me a pencil that they hand decorated, and that's this collection here. That's all I have left from this day. And now here's a great one. This was from Diane Hawksby, our membership manager, and back in 1979 I had a pretty substantial afro hairdo. So this was her take on Gary Skinkle Day. The pencils say Happy Gary Skinkle Day, and they're all decorated in various ways, meaning special things from very special people.
Gary's pencils, huh?
That's my pencils.
I knew there'd be a story there.
Oh, there's always a
I'm
story around
always
this
glad to
place.
open those little doors. Sometimes I never know what's coming out. What's that? Oh, that's...
Oh, that was another one. I'm also known as quite a conservative politically, and this one was given to me from our graphic artist, John Heliniak, and it says, Gary, this pencil is to be used with the right hand only, because you know if it's written by the left, it will be biased and untrue. Kind of very Rush Limbaugh-ish.
But those are the golden moments. That's
Yeah, it
what
was
makes a
very
career
nice.
like this worthwhile.
It really was, and we've got a great crew here, and we've always prided ourselves on the family atmosphere here at Mountain Lake PBS. It's just a wonderful place to work. It's a great opportunity. I'm one of the old timers, but it's a great opportunity for the young folks. Pretty substantial communications program, as I'm sure you're aware, at Plattsburgh State. And we're often fortunate enough to not only have interns from those programs coming here, but we also hire folks sometimes as master control operators as they're going to school. It gives them a chance to make some money, and sometimes they end up staying here. I'm a graduate of that program. Having been an adult student, I went back to school and ended up getting my degree in communications in '92, and it's been nice to see some of these younger folks come through, and they get exposed to so much here. If they go to a large market or a large TV station to start out, they don't get the opportunities that they do at a place like this. They get to do everything. They get to run audio, they get to run cameras, they get to do lighting, they get to work on computers, they get to do set design, they get to do so much, where in a larger place they'd be stuck doing one thing, running tapes, running camera, and nothing else. So that's another great aspect of this organization in particular. It gives the young folks that have an interest in broadcasting in general an opportunity to get in on the ground floor and to gain some valuable experience so that they perhaps can enhance their career down the line.
Some might have dreams that they would go to a large commercial station, and sometimes those dreams end up going poof, and they end up at Mountain Lake
Sometimes.
20 years
That's
later,
right.
or 15 or
That's
10
right.
yeal later.
Exactly, or then again you have your Jeannie Mose or your Don Fratangelo that decide to move
good
on.
examples.
Excellent examples for local personalities or journalists that made good. But, you know, being at Mountain Lake PBS is not making bad. It's a wonderful organization, and we provide, I think, a very, very valuable service, not necessarily always in our entertainment aspect of things, because that is so diverse. And you know, when there's a lot of room maybe for criticism sometimes from folks about a particular choice of our entertainment program. But when you take the whole picture, when you take our educational programming, when you take things like People Near Here, like I mentioned before, our health issues, our local health issues programs that we do, and all the wonderful things we do with the educators in the area, like the National Teacher Training Institute. It's just on an overall basis, we have much to be proud of here here in the North Country, and Plattsburgh specifically, to be the home of Mountain Lake PBS. Of course, our audience goes way into Canada and way over into the western part of northern New York and over into Vermont. But Plattsburgh is the home base, and we are a small TV station, and we always used to say we're the little station that could, and so we'll just keep on chugging up that road, and we'll keep on going strong for as long as we can.
And for you, it's been a personally rewarding career.
Oh, absolutely, Gordy. It's been wonderful. I've enjoyed every moment that I've been here. It was a great opportunity for me when I was younger to get in on the ground floor as I did, and I've had the opportunity to advance and to build my credentials. And I'm a North Country guy. I don't have any dreams of ending up in Hollywood. I never did. This is fine for me. I enjoy it. I like doing what I do. I'm a key player. I get a sense of fulfillment in what I do because the particular nature of my job is so critical to the overall operation that when I see the finished product on air and when we start receiving some positive feedback, it does make you feel really good.
Yeah, when it works right, it feels good.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
contribution, Gary. Great to have you let us come into your shop for a minute.
Anytime. Glad to see you.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay, we'll see you at Movie Marathon.
We'll be there.
Okay, Gordy, thanks.
Marie Ann, education is a big part of what public television does, especially Mountain Lake.
Sure is. Actually, I'm the outreach coordinator for the station, and Howard touched upon what makes us stand out in a market full of viewing choices, and one of the things that makes us stand out is outreach. And what outreach simply means is that we make programs more meaningful for people by giving them something hands-on that sort of extends the educational value of the programming. Mountain Lake PBS is the recipient of 2 yearly grants. One is the National Teacher Training Institute grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and our flagship station in New York City, WNET. And coming up in May, on the 20th and 21st, we will be offering 2-day staff development for teachers from all around the region, showing them the best uses of technology in the classroom. And this year we've teamed up with the Lifelong Learning Center at the university here in Plattsburgh. We'll be at Sibley Hall, and they're offering a 1-credit graduate credit benefit for people who want to take advantage of that, because some of our teachers are still moving toward that master's degree. So that's why we have all these boxes here. Those are going to be the binders that we give to all those teachers. It's a free training, which is quite unusual in this day and age, and so we're hoping it'll be very popular. It's our 9th year doing it, but we've been up in Canada for the last 3 years, so we're hoping that coming down to New York will garner us more teachers from the local area. All the books that you see here on our bookshelf are the books that I received through our other yearly grant, which is the Ready to Learn grant. This is an initiative that started through PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and now PBS has taken it over completely. And this is an outreach initiative that recognizes that the children's programming on PBS stations in general and on Mountain Lake PBS are the most important programs that we provide, and that we are touching the most important constituency when we air those programs. And so what we've done is put together an opportunity to help parents and teachers and librarians and anybody else who works with children learn how to use the PBS children's programming to provide lessons for the children. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on patience and kindness and respect, Sesame Street with the letters, the numbers, the colors, Barney on things like safety, Reading Rainbow, Love of Literature, Wishbone, all these programs. I mean, you just name them and immediately you get a sense of well-being. And part of the outreach is that I receive 200 free books every month to distribute to the people in our community. I've teamed up with the folks at Head Start so that every Head Start in the 3-county area, Clinton, Franklin, and Essex, get books every month from us. And I also put the word out so that other organizations who might be interested in getting books for the children that they serve can do that. Now, the books are not to go into somebody's library or into somebody's classroom. These are books that are supposed to go into the hands of the children who may not otherwise have their very own books. I mean, to receive a brand new book free of charge to enjoy again and again.
In this day and age, that's kind of a novelty, isn't it?
Yes,
right?
it is. Yes, it is. So that's a couple of the outreach educational ventures that we're part of, and we've also teamed up with other organizations to do things like combat violence, which is a huge issue right now. PBS hands down a big initiative every year. Once it was women's health back in '94. It's been violence for a couple of years, drug abuse issues with a special from Bill Moyers. And each of these programs allows us not only to broadcast it, but also to do things like video conferencing with people who might be interested in the topic, opportunities to get people together in study groups, to provide them with free materials so that they can carry on and sort of start initiatives of their own.
We all have to do whatever we can to combat violence, starting in our homes, working out through our schools and our communities. As we're taping this program, we're right on the backside of a tremendous disaster that happened in Colorado near Denver. And each one of us, I'm sure, has said at the breakfast table and the supper table to their children, to their families, what can we do as individuals to help? This is one way right here on public television.
That's right, and we were talking about it ourselves. You know, we're hoping that additional programming, we know additional programming is going to come down about this topic because it's not a one-time only project. Oh, we took care of the violence, on to the next thing. And we know that the message of programs like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you know, that we should all be listening to that, you know, and it all starts with respect of our own lives and respect of others. And we really hold him near and dear in our hearts here. And in fact, I'm going to be bringing you down to the office of one of the individuals here at Mountain Lake PBS, and Mr. Rogers is her very favorite person on the planet. So we're going to go see Janice Lefebvre, our promotions manager.
Oh boy, toys. Oh boy, look at the neat stuff.
Yeah.
Janice Lefebvre, how are you?
I'm just great, Gordy. How are you?
That's two, 3 greats, 4, 5. There's so many greats in this building, I don't
Great
know.
place to work, so, you know.
It really is. What do you do here besides enjoy your toys and all that kind of stuff?
Well, officially, I'm the Promotion and Public Information Manager, and the thing I seem to do the most is write our program guide. For example, here's a couple copies here. I've just finished writing the June program guide, even though it's still only April. We're working ahead here. I write the press releases for the station, get those out to the media, plan all the advertising. Plus all the other fun stuff that goes on around here I try to help out with too.
Look
So
at this look at this bulletin board over here.
You can see I have a little history here, huh?
You got a few memories here. Why don't you just turn around and talk a little bit about some of your favorite pictures and poses here?
Well, a lot of the music programs are my favorites, of course, from Stevie Ray Vaughan to Neil Young to blues. I really like music. I used to do a blues show on the radio station that we had
we
here.
know that.
Yes, used to love doing that. I'm also a race fan. My nephew drives a funny car, so I have a lot of interests, as you can see. It's almost in the center, Mr. Rogers is my favorite person in the whole world.
What a neat person. Talk about people who do good in the world.
Marianne and I were just saying today that if every child watched Mr. Rogers in kindergarten every day, this world would be a better place, and I really would like to see that.
Yeah.
Yep, but lots of memories. I've been here since 1978, so I've had time to collect a few, and great place to work.
Have you been here since night? Shame
Yes,
on you.
1978.
Isn't that truly amazing? That blows me away.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, the time's flown by, and I started here as a clerk typist and just figured I'd take the job for a little while till something better came along.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
Yeah, and nothing better, I don't think, will come along. I really like it here. It's a good place to work. We work hard, but we have a lot of fun. We help the community. There's a lot of good things happening here.
You know, this speaks to a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I believe that we should follow our passion. Passion is one of my favorite words. I feel very badly for people who go to work every day and don't have a passion for what they do. They may make substantial salaries. They may have wonderful homes. But if they don't follow their passion, then are they truly happy people?
Well, I can't believe that they would be. I mean, I think you spend a lot more time at work than you do almost anything. And to have work that you believe in, that you can have fun doing, and help the community, I think we're very fortunate in that respect.
You know, I think your personality shows all over this room. And if people just take a look at some of the things in this room, well, I'm kind of scary too. But I mean, you have a delightful, delicious, spontaneous personality. It's a part of what you are. And these pictures, this is invigorating just to stand in this room. This is an inspiration, interesting and bizarre. For the first and last time in history, I want to just see what it looks like. All right. Now I got to go back. Like everybody else, I think I'll go to Disney World.
Sounds good. Say hi to Mickey for me.
You know I will. Photographs. Look at this. Is that delightful?
Isn't that wonderful? Right now I'm working on captioning all these photos. What a great job that is to do that, isn't it?
There's
Very
your buddy.
easy
There's
job.
your buddy.
That's right. I am Mr. Rogers' #1 fan. I'm proud
Would you
to
like
say.
to get one of his secondhand sweaters?
Oh, I would love
Or
to.
the sneakers?
They're actually in the Smithsonian.
Yeah, I know they
Yeah,
are.
I do have, my
what-
20th anniversary here at the station. My friends here contacted David Newell, who's the communications director for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He's a friend of ours. He's been here, Mr. McFeely,
Oh, of course.
performing in the area.
Wonderful.
And he arranged for Mr. Rogers and King Friday to sing me a birthday and anniversary song on video, sent it up to the station, and of course I cried like a baby
Did
when
you?
I saw it.
I missed it. Oh,
I
wow.
still do. Whenever I watch it, it just brings tears to my eyes. It was so special. So
Those are
just
the
talking about it.
Those are the moments that make
yeah.
life worthwhile.
And he even sent me one of the neighborhood trolleys autographed. So it's a prized possession. Very thrilled.
That was the end of. If you had retired that very day, that would have been it.
I said my life is complete. Mr. Rogers has spoken to me, and
I can't wait to see what happens after the next 20, Janice.
yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
They
It's
are
going to be
such
interesting.
delightful people. After Mr. McFeely was here that time, and I had chatted with him and told him about some of the things I do, it wasn't 2 days later, and I had a personal letter, handwritten letter from him, sending me information and background materials, and that's the kind of people they are.
They're good people. They really are. They care about children. They care about the world, and they're making a difference. And I hope parents will have their children watching that show for a long time to come. I think it can make a difference in these children's lives, teaching them respect for others. I think that's really important these days.
You know, we use that phrase, making a difference, lightly sometimes. And there are different ways to make a difference, but taken as a package and a combination of the individuals who work here, this place makes a difference every single day. And how can you help but go home at night How can you help but be pleased at having been a part of all that?
Well, we can't, and I think I consider myself very lucky to be here and be a part of it. I work with a lot of great, very talented people. If you've seen our shows, People Near Here, the Roadside Recipes, there's just so much talent in this building, and we have great opportunity, and we take advantage of them.
And you're a pretty special lady too, Janice. Thanks for having us stop by today.
Thank you very much for stopping. We appreciate it.
Best of luck, and may things always grow and blossom and be many colors in your neighborhood.
Well, yours too. Thanks a lot.
See you later, Janice. Oh, wow, what an interesting room. This brings back special memories for me because it's used very much during the movie marathon open house, and
right.
our entertainers very often are
Hang
centered
out in
right
here.
in this room, but right now it's serving a completely different function.
That's right. This room originally was our radio studio, but we ended up not being able to complete it to be really useful in that respect. So it's sort of become a catch-all room, and right now it's acting as our arts auction warehouse, Mountain Lake Collection warehouse. And all around you see bins that were built by our very own Carter Germain. We build everything here ourselves. Our sets are all built in-house, and we have a scenery shop in the back that's just full of all the tools to execute that. And you see all of the artwork that's going to go up for bid over the next 4 nights, everything from our Rondac Santa that comes from Tamaris Dalton. She's very talented, and those are popular. I think you probably know people
Very
who collect
popular.
things of that sort, Christmas time all year round. And in each of the bins are the items by board number, so it's all in really good order, and the art handlers just need to come in here over the next few nights and pick up the art and bring it out into the studio. It's all set up in a very complicated system. But this year we got really a beautiful collection of watercolors, oils, carvings, some beautifully carved birds, very popular. Joel Avery from Malone did that fabulous maple bowl that's up there, kind of an unusual piece, and he attributes
number 16, yeah.
He attributes that to the ice storm. Actually, he mentions that in his description of his artwork. So all sorts of things, and I think something for every taste and every pocketbook as well. We've got pieces as inexpensive as $100 and all the way up to $6,400 for.
Kind of amazing as I look around the room, and when you first came in, you started to talk about this chessboard for a very good reason. That's right on the table beside us. Tell me.
The chess set that you see is based on a design of Arto Monaco's from the Land of Make-Believe.
And you told me before we go a minute farther that recently, as we're recording this around the 22nd day of April, that Arto hasn't been very well lately, so we'll say a little prayer for him because he's such a wonderful guy. We want him to be around for a long time.
Yeah, we've all been saying our prayers, sending get well cards along to him, and our thoughts to his wife Glad, because I'm sure this has been a very worrisome time for her. But like so many people, he came down with that upper respiratory thing this winter, and when you're in your 80s, it's a little harder to shake. So he's been hospitalized, and but he seems to be keeping his spirits about him, as you can imagine.
If nothing else, the man has spirit, I'll tell you that. And this was his original design.
Yeah. Peter Doust is an artist who contributed a couple pieces to this year's auction, and he claims his inspiration is the work of Arto. And so we were very fortunate he was able to give us this. I don't see it right now, but we also have a wonderful sort of topographic map of the park that George Jakes contributed, and that was built from a mold that Arto had done as well. So some things that are really memorable and souvenir-like pieces from the Adirondacks, as well as some pieces that are very metropolitan, and it's a great collection this year.
Just wonderful. Look at these great carved objects.
Yeah, these come from someone who's never given before, Mr. Perry, Brian Garant, who's in our programming department, who lives in Moores, and he said, I know this wonderful carver, and I think you'd be interested in his work, and so we got 2 pieces from him this year, and in fact the Press Republican was kind enough to go and interview him and talk a little bit with him, so I think he's gotten more exposure this year than he has in his entire career, but just this lovely little beaver dam that he did. We also have a piece by another artist, this little tiny, I don't know if you can see it, the tiny little turtle. That's from Ron Rogers, and he's given to us in the past. Very detailed, beautiful piece of work. So
This is going to be fun, and as Howard said, by the time this program is viewed, some of these objects will be on people's walls and mantelpieces. That's kind of neat.
that's right. We're decorating the whole North Country, we think, here at Mountain Lake PBS. And of course we get art from all over the region, and we get buyers from all over the region. So it's nice to know that Canadians are interested in pieces from the Adirondacks and vice versa, because it really shows a sharing and an exchange of sorts.
You know, the word Adirondack and Adirondacks has a magical meaning for people all over the globe, as we're learning now, with explosions of interest from India, from Pakistan, from Japan.
We've
It's
had
amazing.
letters and notes from people all over the country and all over the world now about our People Near Here series, and it's great to know that Mountain Lake PBS is getting recognition outside of the region, and people even who used to live in this area who get up one morning and watch a program about us in Connecticut and can't believe that they're hearing about their old haunts. One fellow, in fact, wrote because he had been a pilot here at our air base years ago and got to see the program Boomer and the Crew Dogs, which shows the old strata tankers, and he was so touched and pleased, and hearing the fate of the air base here. And in fact, he's out in California at a base that's closing in 2001, so he really could relate to what we've gone through here. So that's kind of making those connections is very important to us.
That's terrific. Well, what haven't we seen yet?
Haven't seen our neighbors. We have a little neighborhood in our building. We have a very big building, and years ago, through budget cuts and some attrition of our staff, we used to be a staff of 40, and now we're just hovering at the 30 mark. So what we've done is we've rented out some offices to the Boy Scout Council, and of course Jack LeDuc from WCAX has his haunt here, and we also have our development offices in this part of the building. So we're going to head out that way, and then we'll come full circle to the front of the building again.
We'll do it.
Okay.
All right. You've got some activity going on around
Yeah.
here. What's this all about?
Bustling. Well, what this is our confirmation area. During the auction, when a person calls in with a bid, the confirmers call the person back to find out, did you really want to bid that amount, and to get their information exactly, because it doesn't help if we have a credit card number that's incorrect. And some people get a little too exuberant on the phone and realize afterward that they didn't want to buy so many pieces, and they might let go of one bid. And then we have the job of calling the next few bidders down to see if they'd like to be the high bidder on that particular item. So these people stay busy through the 4 nights, just checking information and making sure it's correct and making sure people really want the artwork that they say they've wanted to purchase. And there's usually about 4 gals sitting here all across the table. Janice, who we just visited, does this every single year for Arts Auction, and they have a computer system set up now so that they can start building a database immediately, because as soon as the auction is over, people come in and start picking up the artwork and paying for it, and Joni, our bookkeeper, has to take care of putting those credit cards through and checking all that information. So it's very busy.
Every year it gets refined a little bit.
It's like playing store.
Yeah, it really is. But every year it gets a little better in the process, so it works a little smoother, less heartache. The first auction was far different from this one.
I'm sure it was. And in years gone by, and if you still talk to other PBS stations, they still do what's called the general merchandise auction, which we got rid of a long time ago. But, that was very intensive and not as stellar a collection as what we have, certainly. You kind of got whatever a local business felt like getting rid of from their back room and said, okay, here's a donation to you. And they didn't look at it as an opportunity to advertise their wares. This is a much better event and kind of in keeping with the kind of quality that we want associated with us, as a quality institution. So
You mentioned we'll look down the hall here and see the sign that says Boy Scout offices. This is a much larger building than it appears to be from the
on the
outside.
road, everybody says that when they drive by. They say it doesn't look that big, but it is a very big building. Those used to be our development offices and our radio offices, and what we've done is we've rented them out. We have some good neighbors. The Boy Scouts Council of the North Country is here. We also have 91.9, which is a satellite service of the Albany public radio station WAMC, and they're still housed in this building. Pat Bradley, who you probably know from...
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, Pat Bradley is their employee now, and so she does stories for remotes and sends them on down to Albany every few weeks. I think they pick up a story of hers and actually record it. So she's in the building, but most of the time, unfortunately, that window is dark, and we do miss having that radio presence.
I bet you personally miss it, too.
I
don't
do.
you?
I do. It was a great opportunity for me because, as I said, working here is like being at school and being paid for it and having the opportunity to actually do radio. I had a radio show every day. I did interviews on behalf of the local arts council, interviewing some of the musicians who were coming up for different shows and things of that sort. And it was a great opportunity for me to learn how to splice tape and do all of that. So I do miss it. And sometimes Janice and I talk about maybe having a little moonlighting across the lake or something, because there are some opportunities, but it would mean some travel for us. So
You're young. You can do whatever you want to do in life.
right.
And you've done a lot of things for a young person. You have done a lot of things. And as I mentioned with all the other people we've interviewed today, you have to have a pretty satisfying existence here. When you go home at night, you have to say to yourself, yeah, we did it again.
I have the best job in the world. I really think that. I think through my outreach activities, having the opportunity to give books out to children, I mean, what better job could there be? And just hearing that we've made a difference to people's lives, that they learned something they never knew before, or that they were able to personally develop in a way that they wanted to because of a program that we had on television, or helping a teacher with the tools that we offer them through the programs. It is a very good feeling, and it's a very satisfying place to work. And I can't imagine working anywhere else, to tell you the truth. And it gives me a chance to do writing, which is my background, and I get to do a little bit of everything. So we're standing here waiting for Diane Hawksby, who's our development. She's the membership manager, and she just came in off vacation, so that's probably why she's making so many phone calls.
And she hung it up, and we're going to rush in and mob the place. And how are you?
How are you, Gordon?
The voice I always hear on the telephone saying, Gordon, a movie marathon's coming
Can you
up
come and help
again."
us out?
What a pleasure to be here today. We have gotten such a great education and met so many people that we already know, but let the rest of our viewers meet them through the eyes of the camera. What a neat place to work.
It's a very exciting time. To me, this is a lot of fun for me because it's not fundraising and I'm not running around adding pledges and premiums and all that kind of stuff. For us, Arts Auction is just a great event for us, and the community really supports us, and it's just a lot of fun. Everyone loves an auction, and what better auction than to pick up some really good artwork during the Arts
We've
Auction.
had a sneak preview.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's great. Every year it gets better and better, and this year it's just fabulous.
Some combinations of things and carvings and
Yeah, I mean, there are, beautiful artwork that can be in the thousands of dollars, but yet there are some reproductions. And if you look on my walls here, there's some beautiful artwork and posters and stuff like that. And my husband and I do a lot of bidding during the auction. Sometimes we're lucky and sometimes we're not. But it's our chance to pick up some beautiful artwork.
you're going to be sitting at one of those tables.
No, I work at these things, unfortunately, and that's why I have here my sneakers and my bobby socks. I'm ready to really work. We're on our feet all night long, and we do a lot of running. And my job is as a volunteer supervisor, and we collect all the sheets. We make sure that all the bids are all in the right amounts, and that the information is complete. And then we run it off to the confirmation room. So there's a real pipeline of paperwork that goes behind the scenes, and that's my job, is behind the scenes, and that's where I like it.
You have a lot of other jobs around here.
We do. We wear many hats, but that's what Mountain Lake is all about, and we love it.
Well, what do you do? Tell me what you do in the course of a regular day.
I'm membership manager, and that's servicing the membership needs, and it's from putting in all the payments for all the contributions that people send in, to sending out monthly membership renewals, and sending out the thank you gifts, and making sure that you were just seeing me on a call, and that was just somebody who wanted to know about our kids club, and they were giving us their children's birthday so that they can go in the air. So basically, people support the station, and it's my job to make sure that we take care of making sure the funds come in, and that they get what they deserve, which are membership benefits, thank you gifts, program guides, and great programming service.
We're asking everybody how they got started here. Where did you originally come from, and how did you end up at PBS?
Well, I've been here for a very long time. I've been here for 21 years, and I started 21 years ago as a receptionist for WCFE, then Channel 57. and basically moved up the ranks to membership manager. And this job fits me like a glove, and I just love it. And I've been here. It's a family. It's a lot of fun, and I can't imagine it working anywhere else.
So mind you, this hasn't been rehearsed, although
No.
you tell yourself every day, I really like this job. But everyone we've talked to throughout the course of this building has said things in different words, but essentially the same idea. And that's pretty neat.
We all work as a team here, and that's what makes Mountain Lake PBS so special. And we all support one another, and we all put aside differences, and we all put in all our effort for Mountain Lake PBS, for the community. And at the same time, we're all good friends, and that's what keeps us so close.
Never has there been a more dedicated, hardworking crew.
There's a high
I've seen a
turnover.
lot of sweat here.
Yeah, there is. There's a high turnover in PBS across the nation whenever you go to conferences. A lot of people, there are a lot of new faces every year, but there are people who are very dedicated, and basically there are very few people who have been there 20 years or more, and I'm one of them, so it's kind of neat.
You and Janice.
Yes.
I love it.
We're only 6 months apart, so...
Isn't that wonderful? Diane, thanks so much for all of your hard work here, and thank you for inviting us in today.
Oh, we enjoy seeing you guys come in, and hope everyone can watch it. So that's great.
Now, Marie Ann Azar, we're going to make believe it's 87 degrees out here, the 13th day of July. Actually, it's not that cold.
It's not that bad. I got out here without a coat on, which is saying something for me. I wear a coat and mittens just about from October to May.
Our summers are too short, even for those of us who are warm-blooded. We won't keep you here long. I just want to say thank you so much for being a gracious hostess today. Send our congratulations and thanks to all those people who talked with us and all those people we didn't get to see. John snuck out on us.
I know.
We were going to have John Flanzer on television today, and he said we'd be back at 3 o'clock, but you know how it is.
We know how it is, and he's going to have a really late night on television tonight in the
I
next
know he
few
will,
nights.
but
So.
we'll be watching him running the whole show in there, and it should be
That's right.
terrific.
That's right.
Again, thanks so much for the person you are and for what you do. It's been a great pleasure.
Well, thank you very much for coming by. Thank you too, Cal. We really appreciate it, and it was a wonderful opportunity because sometimes those days when we don't appreciate who we are, this gave us a chance to remind ourselves.
It's a nice perspective, and it's really a great pleasure for Calvin and myself to do the tour. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our program called Our Little Corner.